Hey, what's up guys? As I am sure you have seen, the headlines are all doom and gloom about our homeowners insurance market here in Florida. And today we're gonna talk about what's actually going on. We're gonna debunk a lot of these myths that are out there. All these other YouTubers are putting all these videos out with things blowing up and explosions about how everything is going to hell in a handbasket. But we're gonna give you the truth on what's really going on. And to do that, I am joined by my favorite local insurance expert, Chris Delbridge, who is gonna help us debunk a lot of these myths. So to get into it, we're gonna do a little true and false if you're cool with that.
Cool.
And I'm gonna throw some myths at you and you're gonna tell me true or false, and then you can kind of give me a little context there on what's actually happening. So one of the biggest things that I see out there is that our real estate market here in Florida is going to crash because all the insurance carriers are leaving the state of Florida, and by the end of the year, no one's gonna be able to get homeowners insurance and the market here is gonna crash. True or false?
False.
False.
That would be more leadership thing of being fixed by like actual reform and legislation I don't see that happening. We would theoretically cripple ourselves if that were the case. So what my prediction would be is it can only get better because it can't get much worse. I can't see it getting any worse because the change that needed to be happen has happened. We're just not in a place where it's done anything to rates or eligibility yet.
And action's already been taken, so we're at the beginning of this recovery, so we're gonna start to see some improvement in years to come.
Yes.
Got it?
True.
True. Next up, flood insurance. Being beachside or on the water, you're required to get flood insurance in Florida.
False. There's gray. I'd say Florida is a flood zone. Should you get flood insurance? Absolutely. Are you gonna be required? It depends on the zone that you're in. So you can easily go to FEMA.org, type in the address, see what flood zones. If you see a big blue area on top of the property address where you're buying, you're more than likely gonna need flood insurance. So there's a couple suggestions that I would have in that breath, that if the seller has flood insurance, that's probably the path of least resistance of assuming that policy, which you'd have to go through that specific agent. So you would just request for the insurance policy from the seller. On that declarations page, it would have the agent's information. They would reach out to that agent, assume that policy. I think it goes up 18% every year. Until it gets to the current rates. But as far as like the newer rates, if that were something, you just want to get an elevation certificate, which happens right after the appraisal. You go get a survey, and that's when the elevation would be done, and that will dictate your final price on your flood insurance. But is it wise to get it? Yes. Is it required? Depending on the zone that you're in.
Well, we get a lot of people that reach out, and I get this question a lot, or this request is they'll say, hey, I want to be close to the beach, but I don't want to be by the beach because I don't want to pay flood insurance. And I think that's a common misconception, is if you're beachside or even riverfront, that you're going to be required to have that flood policy. Next, the hot water heater in your home needs to be 15 years old or newer in order to get insurance. True or false?
I'd say true, but I'm gonna say false to an extent because Citizens does not have an age requirement. There's also another company that's admitted that doesn't have an age requirement. So it will limit your options for sure if it's older than 15 years. But either way, you could get insurance as long as it's in good condition.
Next, location is going to be the primary factor leading to higher insurance costs.
False. Age of home.
Okay.
Location is a factor, but age of home is a bigger factor in my opinion.
Age of the home is going to have the biggest impact on the cost of insurance over the location.
Correct.
Now, what would be the ideal home in terms of age? 10 years or newer?
10 years or newer.
Okay, got it. So new construction, 10 years or newer. Now, we did make a video on that recently. If you guys want to see that, I'll link that up right here and you can watch that after this. And just to give a little bit of context, this is May 2023. So if you're watching this video at a later time, some of these things could have changed. Our insurance market is forever evolving. So if you have any questions, definitely reach out. You can call, text, or email. Our contact information is down in the description. If you guys want to get a hold of Chris directly, I'll be happy to get you guys connected. Next, when buying a condo, going to save you money compared to a single family home when it comes to homeowners insurance?
Last year, true. This year, false. I would say the amount of options with condos, specifically with closed zip codes, as of recently in the last couple months, have influenced price. It used to be so easy for condo insurance, and a couple markets go away, and then all of a sudden now it's more difficult. And specifically when you need, what if it's like one of those penthouse kind of condos type of deal? If you need over 150,000 in dwelling coverage, Some carriers won't give you that, which then when we're limiting option, influence price.
So comparing condos to say maybe a townhome is gonna be much easier to insure?
I would say false. The townhome is arguably maybe the most difficult to insure. So if you're buying a townhome, you want to find out from the property management, they might outsource it more than likely, or it's in-house. But if you're in charge of the exterior walls and roof, so I would request for the HOA documents. I would request for the commercial policy if they do cover the exterior walls and roof, so you have proof of it. And then also if they are in charge of the exterior walls and roof, request from the wind mitigation that they used for their commercial insurance, because you might be able to use it as the buyer to help reduce the cost.
Interesting. So speaking of roofs, tile roofs, I've heard those are usually the easiest to insure because they last forever and they're very wind resistant.
False. I would not get a tile roof if it were me, just my opinion. But in the same breath, there's carriers that won't even write a tile roof because that's been some of the biggest issues with a claims perspective from the cost of it. If they discontinue, you might have to re-roof the entire thing. And then, you know, once again, with the attorney multiplier fee that was and wasn't or isn't now, that was something that got abused through litigation and why a lot of companies steered away from it. So most of the time, if it's 20 years or newer, you're gonna get coverage. It used to be, I mean, a few years ago, it was 50 years. But I'd say if you're gonna get anything else than shingle, metal is the better
so
material.
Tile roofs went from 50 years to 20 years.
Yeah.
Wow. So
50 to 30 to 25 to 20.
Wow. So metal roofs are easier to insure than a shingle roof. True or false?
Yes, because they'll give you a bigger age allotment for it. So that would be true.
What's the age range on a metal roof?
Most of the time, 25 years or newer.
Okay.
Once again, that used to be 50, so it's like 2023.
Yeah. So metal roofs may last forever, but they're only insurable as of now for 25 years.
Right. According to whom? Probably the roofer, but not the insurance company.
Not the insurance company. At the end of the day, if you're getting a mortgage, the insurance is what matters, because if you don't get that insurance, you're not getting a loan. If you don't get the loan, you don't get the house. Brevard County has less insurance options compared to other interior Central Florida counties.
False. I would say the biggest thing in comparison is the bigger markets like Orlando specifically, a lot more claim frequency there, a lot more attorney billboards for people to file claims, and a whole lot more older homes too. In a more saturated environment, you're not going miles without, maybe you just see one community versus there's like a ton of communities all in one place. So loss ratio and a zip code affects if carriers want to write there or not. So it's actually easier, in my opinion, to get insured in Brevard County than versus like a Seminole, Orange, Osceola, or Lake.
Interesting. To bring that all together then, can you get affordable homeowners insurance on the Space Coast?
Yes, but according to whom?
Okay, let's say affordable $1,600 a year or under. Is it possible?
It's gotta be, yeah, it's possible. It's gotta be newer construction.
Yeah, so it is possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. That's good news. So you can actually get insurance in Brevard County. You can get affordable insurance. Now I know you and I have talked before, affordable doesn't always equate to the best coverage, but obviously that's something that you can kind of break down and walk somebody through. If you guys want to know what's coming with our insurance market in years to come, we've actually done an entire video on that, and I'll link that up right here so you can check that out. We'll see you next time.